Who can resist grilled sweet corn at a summer barbecue? How about a bowl of homegrown popcorn for movie night? Corn is a great addition to any garden. It does require a bit of extra care to protect it from pests. Unfortunately, lots of our wildlife friends and those pesky insects love corn too. Get ready because I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks to have an abundant corn harvest. Hi, my name is Amy, and I'm the director of Fox Run Environmental Education Center. Typically, we plant sweet corn for fresh eating and preserving. There are other varieties too, popcorn or corn flour that you can try out. Corn ears also make a beautiful decorative display in autumn. Silver Queen is my favorite white sweet corn variety. They are a great midsummer treat and are delicious steamed or grilled on the cob. This variety is also a good choice if you want to freeze corn for winter because it holds up really well in the freezer. These plants get tall, about 8 feet. It grows well in zone 6B and is a good choice for beginner gardeners because it's resistant to several common corn diseases. It's a hybrid though, so you can't save the seeds. If you prefer yellow sweet corn, then golden bantam is a sure bet. This one is an heirloom, so great for seed saving. The plant gets 6 feet tall and takes about 80 days to mature. Golden bantam germinates well in cool soil, so you can get it in a bit early. Colored corn is not just for decoration. Many varieties make fantastic cornmeal. Painted Mountain is a beautiful multicolored corn that can be used in a variety of ways. You can eat it fresh if you pick the ears young and not quite filled out. Fully mature ears of corn can be used to make cornmeal. I used it to make tortilla chips one year. Painted Mountain has a reputation for being hardy and sturdy. It does well in Zone 6B and typically handles higher winds without lodging. This Native American heirloom grows only 4 to 5 feet tall, so is another good choice for a small garden. Strawberry popcorn is probably the cutest type of corn I have ever seen. This variety produces small 2 to 3 inch ears of deep red kernels that truly do look like little strawberries. The 4 foot plants produce 2 to 4 ears and are a great choice for urban gardeners and a family favorite at our house. A small plot is not going to make a lot of popcorn, but this one is all about the process. Hybrid corn seeds are super easy to source, but if you want heirlooms, you may have to order online. The seeds are easy to handle for planting by hand and do well in a seeder. Corn is typically direct sown outside, however, it can be started indoors to get a jump on the season. I start corn inside in mid April, or else I will plant outside in early May, and that's for zone 6B. Use a soil thermometer and wait for the soil to be at least 55 degrees. Plant seeds in a sunny spot in well draining soil, 1 to 2 inches deep and 6 inches apart. Water well after planting. If you're planting a large crop, try to plant after rain. For square foot gardening, plant 4 seeds per square, but for tall varieties, I would just do 2 per square. My grandmother used to say, one for the blackbird, one for the crow, and that just leaves one to grow. There are many fun sayings like this. Corn is an incredibly hungry plant. Add lots of compost to the soil before planting. A pH of 6.2 to 6.4 is best. In addition, I use fish emulsion fertilizer when transplanting and when it's starting to tassel. Are you interested in food self sufficiency? You need to check out my book, Kick the Grocery Store Goodbye, which is available on Amazon. It's in the Kindle Unlimited program and available for purchase. I will put a link in the description. If you have a cold spell, Cover young seedlings with row fabric because they're very sensitive to the cold. Corn is wind pollinated. That's important for two reasons. One, it needs to grow close together so plants pollinate each other. To assure good pollination, plan to sow at least 20 plants. That said, a person at my community garden last year did a small corn planting with only 6 plants, and it pollinated and produced ears. Second, when pollinated plants can easily cross pollinate each other, you can end up with some very funky, poor tasting corn. This matters if you plan to have more than one variety in your garden. Plan your plantings so that your corn is not tasseling at the same time. Pay attention to the seed packet. Corn comes in early, mid, and late season varieties. I typically look at my harvest dates and then plant about 3 weeks apart. For instance, I typically plant Silver Queen, which needs 80 to 90 days, and Painted Mountain, which needs 70 to 90 days. These two have a lot of overlap. In my experience, Painted Mountain does better with the hot, dry days of August. So I typically plant Silver Queen first and Painted Mountain 2 to 3 weeks later. Unfortunately, weeds love cornfields. The tall corn plants allow plenty of sun to reach the soil, helping the weed seeds to germinate. Tilling in fall and again in spring can help expose weed seeds to your friendly bird helpers, chickens or songbirds. For large plots, get out the hoe and slice off those weeds as they begin to grow. Be careful not to hoe too close to the corn plant, as they have very shallow roots. Corn also requires consistent watering. Water it thoroughly at least once a week. Corn does well with other plants and is part of a Three Sisters garden that we talked about in the green bean video. Corn does get tall. Even the shorter varieties can be 4 to 5 feet. So make sure you plant it where it won't shade other sun lovers. You can use it strategically to give greens some shade. Corn has a number of insect pests. Good monitoring of the ears is very important as the bugs get down inside the ears where you can't see them. The corn earworm eats the kernels and the silks of the corn ear. Their larvae also attack tomatoes and eat the fruits. An inexpensive remedy is to put vegetable oil on the tip. Spraying with an organic pesticide such as BT also will discourage them. Cucumber beetles are striped or spotted beetles. They're easy to spot and pick off. They love cucumber and squash plants, but the larvae will eat the roots of corn plants and the adults the leaves. Corn smut is a fungus that causes galls or a big swelling on ears, leaves, and tassels of sweet corn. The fungus overwinters in the soil. The good news is smut is an edible fungus and is considered a gourmet treat in some areas. You may hear it called Mexican truffles. If your corn patch gets smut, remove the infected parts of the plant. The corn is still edible, although it may not be very pretty. Wildlife love corn as much as we do. I have a video on keeping deer out of the garden, and we'll put the link here. I go into more detail there, but here are the basics. A substantial 8-foot fence is the best, or a slanted fence that is 6 feet and slopes outward at a 45-degree angle. Electric fencing also works well. Deer netting is not as effective, in my opinion, because it's flimsy. Raccoons are highly intelligent and very persistent. If you have intense raccoon pressure, use a dog kennel with a wire top and grow corn or other plants inside of it. If you have a large corn patch, electric fencing will deter raccoons. Use 2 strands around the perimeter. The lower strand needs to be 6 inches above the ground, and the next strand needs to be 12 inches above the ground. I used to recommend a radio turned onto a talk show, but raccoons and other wildlife are becoming more urbanized and have adapted to people, so this does not work very well anymore. Corn roots don't go very deep, and sometimes a good strong wind can knock it over. This is called lodging. If you live in an area that gets high winds, you can choose a sheltered spot for corn, and in smaller patches, you might just give it some support. Most often, the corn will straighten itself back up, but it may also need a helping hand. Harvest sweet corn once the kernels are developed and if they emit a milky liquid when punctured. It's best to eat sweet corn the day you pick it. However, unshucked sweet corn can last up to a week in the refrigerator. Flour corn should be harvested when the kernels are fully mature and hard to the touch. If a frost is coming, you can harvest the corn early and let it finish drying inside. For sweet corn, tassels will be dry and the corn ear will feel full. Corn is easy to remove from the cob if you plan to cook or can it. You can use your hands or you can cut the kernels off with a knife. Check out my video on growing green beans next. Thanks for watching and have a fabulous day.